Hey everybody, we are live with the NoDQ review episode number 120. We just had the WarGames NXT TakeOver pay-per-view. We have WWE TLC coming up. We had a very eventful edition of AEW Dynamite. Lots of topics. Let me throw it over to our moderator, Virtue. How's it going? Nice shirt, by the way.
Of course, it's a nice shirt. It's available. What's the website, Aaron? Come on.
NoDQ.com/merch.
There you go. And you can even get it on a face mask or a coffee mug. I am Virtue, and this is the elite panel of the NoDQ review for this week. And it's, of course, myself, Aaron Rift, Big G, and joining us for the first time, I believe, on the review is the General Jerry. What is up? I'll start with you.
Not much. How you guys doing this evening?
And I feel like I'm pissed off, just in general. I want to rage. I want to rant. Everybody's so happy with wrestling right now. And, I don't know. It's still not perfect, but how are you feeling about it?
I'm actually more excited right now about the wrestling product, especially with the whole merger thing that's going on and everything. I think that's really exciting. And the stuff going on with Roman Reigns and WWE, that's awesome too. So character-wise and production-wise, I think it's still great. I just think the audience isn't there. So,
all right. Well, we'll come back to you when we start rifling off these topics. Big G, Steelers are not undefeated anymore.
No, I'm okay. I'm fine.
All right. Okay.
Another day, another topic. But other than that, I'm doing good. Ready to talk some wrestling. I think last week Monday, I fell asleep during watching RAW, so I had to catch up on Tuesday. So other than that, I'm doing good. Aaron, how you doing, boss man?
Doing pretty well. I'm looking forward to 2021 when we can start moving back to normalcy. And we got WrestleMania coming up fairly soon. We got the Royal Rumble. Lots of things to look forward to. We do have to get through TLC, which is kind of just a throwaway pay-per-view. But AEW doing some interesting things, and I'm ready to talk about the news and rumors. Virtue, let's go ahead and get started.
All right, well, we'll get NXT out of the way. I remember when I used to be excited about NXT, and it felt like special, and it's just because a lot of the people that I liked got called up to the main roster. Now, one good thing is, and I believe this happened last night, correct me if I'm wrong, I lose track. There's wrestling every day, and I lose track of it. Karrion Kross is back.
Correct.
Okay? This is a guy trained by Disco Inferno. Of course I'm going to like this guy, but it's nothing like that gimmick. Oh, it's completely different. So I am interested. Now that he's back, I'm interested in NXT again. But War Games, so we have the two War Games matches, right? And I believe in both matches, we had a crowd of people waiting to catch somebody from the top. Come on, NXT, please. The production value in NXT is really good. I mentioned, I think Jeremy Borash is working with them down there on that. But what's everyone's thoughts from War Games? I watched it. I didn't watch it live, but I watched it, and gosh, I have to tell you, watching it back on replay, it was hard to get my attention, right? And if it did, I'm sitting there thinking, why isn't Finn Balor on this card? Did Finn Balor have a match at War Games, the champion?
No.
I know he didn't. But why did Finn Balor, Big G, why did Finn Balor, the champion, not have a match?
They were.
Hurt? Are they waiting? Did they not know the contender? Were they holding off for Karrion Kross? This is why I'm raging. He goes down to the NXT roster, okay, former Universal Champion. It waited a year before they pushed him, and they finally did, and he's not even at War Games.
Yeah, I think. The first thing is, I think they were waiting on to see if Kross was ready to come back. They were focused.
Just to face somebody. AEW does that.
Well, but they were more focused on the War Games match with Undisputed Era and McAfee, and you had Pete Dunne in there and all that stuff. And I don't know if Finn was. I mean, yeah, he was out 2 months with a broken jaw, but I don't know if he was medically cleared yet up until yesterday. But we did find out. Karrion Kross came back last night. He could potentially face him, Dunne. Priest, O'Reilly again, So
Karrion Kross moved to the front of the line.
Yeah, he technically never lost the title. He had to forfeit it, due to injury. But yeah, War Games. I don't know. I used to like the. I mean, I still love the takeovers, but something about it doesn't feel the same. I don't know if it's the lack of the crowd, or if it's the people that are putting on the show, like the wrestlers. Don't get me wrong, I still like the Undisputed Era and all them, but I don't. I'm gonna agree with you, and Robbie even said it. Why do they stand there waiting, in a crowd? Like, all right, let me see how much time I got before this guy jumps off, and we got to catch him at this exact time. Otherwise, it gets screwed up. Why can't it be unpredictable and I don't know, but. I mean, I did enjoy, other than those two spots, I did enjoy the War Games matches. I did enjoy Thatcher versus Ciampa.
There was some blood in that match.
The Strat match was decent. I mean, I like Loomis. He has a character.
I like him too.
Which is good. The triple threat, Gargano got his title back, and I like how he and Candice are real life couple teaming up, and they got Austin Theory now and Indy Hartwell. So nice little faction. So it's interesting. I want to see what happens next. Hopefully, Karrion Kross does get his title match in the next couple months, or probably going to be on that New Year's edition of NXT here in a couple weeks. So that's it for me. I know Jerry's a big NXT guy too. So
yeah, Jerry, take it away there, Mister. What's NXT? We all know what it is. It's NXT.
Yeah. All right. Well, TakeOver WarGames wasn't nearly as good, I don't think, as it was last year. Maybe it's just the fact that it's not as big a star power as it was last year because so many different people are being shifted around. Because last year you also had Dominic Dijakovic and Keith Lee in that match as well, WarGames match as well. So you had a whole bunch of bigger guys and a whole bunch of different potential spots, but you keep on seeing the same recycled garbage, like you were saying. Pretty much, there's always that spot where somebody's diving off. Even Io Shirai had to jazz it up a little bit by throwing a trash can on top of her and diving off that way.
Jerry, let me ask you a question here. Of course, I mean to interrupt you because I'm the moderator. So Karrion Kross, when he won the title from Keith Lee, he relinquished it right away because he was hurt. Has Finn Balor, since he's been the champion, has he wrestled since he got injured?
No.
As a champion?
No.
But yet he's still the champion.
He has had one match. I don't think Karrion Kross should have had to drop the belt. I think he could have kept on doing promos for sitting at home and been just as entertaining. Figure there's always that one person that's able to carry a feud without the other people there. Kind of like Jericho did with Dean Malenko way back in the day with the whole wrestler of 1,000 holds and everything. But I think Karrion Kross should have been able to hold on to the belt and just cut promos from home if anything if they're going to do that. Because right around the same time, you got to think Finn Balor won the belt and he got injured and got to keep for the same amount of time. Really, it was crap.
I mean, jaw maybe different than shoulder or whatever, but it's just weird.
Injured is injured. If you're out for the same amount of time, it doesn't matter. But the rest of the pay-per-view itself, the triple threat match with Gargano, Leo Ruff, and Damian Priest, it was entertaining. I was waiting for Damian Priest just to grab him by the ankles and just start swinging him around like a baseball bat or something, but it never happened. And then you have the women's War Games, which was, everything was just meh on the show. It didn't really nothing really popped to me.
We've seen it before. I mean, with different characters.
Pretty much it's starting to feel recycled. And I don't like saying that about NXT because for a long time that was the fresh product to be watching because they were doing different things. But now you have Triple H and Shawn Michaels and all them, and they're just kind of set in their ways of doing stuff. And granted, it's more progressive than some of the stuff you see in WWE, but it's not really much different anymore either. It's become standard.
Well, they're on USA now weekly, 2 hours versus whatever their network show used to be an hour. So maybe we're like in wrestling, we get too much of it now. Maybe that's just desensitized.
That could very well be it too, because they're able to let, certain rivalries and everything stew like that one week and then just pick up on it like maybe a week or two later. That way it's like, well, what's going on between these two? It's like you get curious about it versus it's always there, always present. So there wasn't really any build up. And the Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes feud, I am so glad that's over. I love them both in the breakout tournament, and I still think Cameron Grimes should have won the match against Jordan Miles and became like the inaugural breakout champion. Which I'm still wondering if they're ever going to do another tournament like that, because that was really entertaining. But the fact that feud's been going on for so long, it's done. I'm glad it's over. There's too many gimmicks going on in it. Next.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. NXT. Now, Aaron, over to you. Anybody stirring up in the chat here?
People are agreeing for the most part, but people did enjoy the show, as did I. I think when you look at the pay-per-view just by itself, I thought it was a great show. I thought both War Games matches were great. Even the women's match, I know people had issues with it, but I think the women really delivered. The women's division in NXT is very strong. Now, with that being said, website traffic, not much happened on Sunday night. You're right, Virtue. It's a product that's geared towards the most hardcore wrestling fans. And the thing is, NXT used to be special because it was different. And you had all these hot guys coming off of the indies into NXT. Part of the problem is COVID, of course, because you don't have these guys on the indie scene that are becoming hot prospects. Yeah. And that's one problem. Another problem is with AEW. Now people are focused on that. NXT is like the fourth brand now. It used to be the third brand, and some people are saying, it could rival Raw or Smackdown as an equal brand, but they don't really know what NXT is, WWE. Is it a developmental brand? Is it an equal brand? It seems like 1 minute it's developmental, another minute they're trying to make it an equal brand. At least a year ago, NXT seemed to be booked on the level of Raw and SmackDown.
They released on Survivor Series last year, and it pretty much just overtook it. So,
yeah, NXT has lost a lot of what made it special, and Mauro Ranallo is gone now, and I just feel like the shows are technically really good, but yeah, it's kind of fallen in terms of priority when it comes to watching wrestling these days, especially in a pandemic. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat, first one of the evening. Thank you, Psycho. He says, how come Finn Balor never turned heel on the main roster and instead wasted his time smiling all the time? Also, the General's hair looks great. There you go, Jerry, a little praise for you. As far as Finn Balor goes, that's a great question. Maybe Vince McMahon did not see Finn Balor as a heel-type character. And to be fair, I always thought he was better as a babyface character. I just don't really see him as a heel. I know some people like his Prince gimmick that he's done in Japan, and I don't know. I think he's a better babyface personality, and I just think we needed to see the Demon come out more often. I don't think he has enough of an edge at times to really be an effective heel. But Jerry, what are your thoughts on him as a heel? Would you agree or disagree? Do you think he could play a heel character really well in WWE if given the opportunity?
I don't think it's more character-wise with him. I think it's just the fact that he's just more aggressive in the ring as a heel, and just his moveset's taken a lot more seriously. He's got that whole Jake the Snake type delivery to the point where he doesn't really raise his voice or anything. You have to really pay attention to what he's saying, but a lot of what he says is gibberish. Just a bunch of cliched slogans and whatnot.
Yeah.
But smiling Finn Balor, he's just as effective. They just didn't know how to use him on the main roster, and after a while, he just became a joke, which is horrible because he's one of the best pure talents that they actually have.
Well, ever since you met him on the streets of Toronto, it was all downhill. No.
Yeah, I have nothing but praise about that. That was a cool moment.
Yeah, but I feel like Finn Balor just has a natural, nice personality. I want to see more of an edge out of the guy, and I think it's unfortunate that he left the main roster, because I think that Demon Finn Balor could have been in some really high-profile matches, maybe against Lesnar. We didn't get Demon Finn Balor in the mix with guys like Roman Reigns and so on.
I think the other thing was he didn't really want to lean too much into that. He didn't want to become just one of those characters that showed up. He wanted to be there to perform as, in the ring versus have to crawl out there every time or wear body paint the entire time that he's in WWE.
Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention real quickly here before we move on. Dwayne Atkinson sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Dwayne. I appreciate it. He says, why turn Balor and Ciampa heel only for them to turn back as a face a short time later? That's another great question, Dwayne, and that's another issue with NXT. Guys that should have been called up by now have not. Gargano is still there. Ciampa's still there. Now, Ciampa has said he doesn't want to go to the main roster, but the whole point of NXT, it's a developmental league, and you're supposed to build these guys up for the main roster. And people get stale. No matter how good you are, if you're in the same place for too long, it gets boring. People want to see something different. That's why back in the day, wrestlers would go to different territories so they didn't get stale. They could go somewhere else and be a fresh name. And when WCW and ECW were around, people could jump to different promotions. The idea is people would be in NXT for a while, and then they would go to the main roster. But Gargano and Ciampa, they've been there now for 4 or 5 years? And that's a very long time.
6.
And yeah. What is there for them to do at this point? Like, they've done everything there is to do there. They need a new environment, in my opinion. So that's another issue with NXT. And, of course, Curtis Butler brings this up, and I do agree. The lack of crowds hurts, especially with this pay-per-view. I thought, like, if we had a real crowd for WarGames, like, that would have been what put it over the top. But, the
this
fake...
This is awesome.
Yeah, that brought it down a little bit for me. Like, that energy that they bring for the WarGames match wasn't there. You just had the piped-in chants and whatnot and, the 100 people that were at ringside for this. So there's issues with NXT, and I'm not really sure what you can do to get people invested in it and bring those numbers up. I just don't know if there's anything WWE can do at this point.
Not really, no.
Well said. Well, we're going to move on here. And, why not talk about the miracle of the birth of a child? Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins now have their child in this world. Congratulations. How do you pronounce the name? Does anybody know that?
Rowe.
Oh, okay. Rowe. I wasn't sure when I saw it spelled. It's the culture of exotic or just different names. I mean, when I was growing up, it was David, Matthew, John, Jonathan, Kevin. Those days are long gone. Those are weird, strange, old people names now. But Becky Lynch is now a mother, like she said. Of course, now that the baby is here, it's the fans looking at their calendars, seeing when they think she could come back. She might not come back for a couple of years, right? She wants to be a mother. So anybody's guess. I know we've talked about that before, but Jerry, I'll start with you because and she was working out pregnant, right? Now that the baby's not there, she's going to keep working out. For all we know, maybe she's going to have a second kid right away. So what is going to happen with Becky Lynch within the next year? Let's just say a return, no return, and if so, when?
I think if they actually gave her and Seth Rollins tour bus or some way of transporting, but even then right now they're just filming from one spot. If they actually do go back on tour and actually are able to have a bus and whatnot, I can see her being back in the ring in like 6 months to 7 months, as long as she can actually have the kid with her in some form of nanny, because like you said, she'll still be working out, she'll do the show, and then she'll have the rest of the time to spend with her child. So it would just be like having a part-time job, if anything. So I can actually see her being back in the ring within this next year. And it'll be interesting to see if they somehow turn that into a storyline. Especially since, or if they're trying to bring back Ronda Rousey at this point too.
Please do.
That'd be interesting because she was trying to have a kid and it just didn't happen for her. So there's that bitterness that's probably there too. That's great, that's real, but wow.
Now, Aaron, it's one thing to, for Seth Rollins to be on the road or to travel to do these shows still. I think because until the pandemic is deemed not a big concern anymore because the vaccine's out there, I definitely don't think we're going to see Becky being a new mother with the kid, with the newborn. Like Seth doing it is one thing, getting tested, both of them doing it and then being around the baby. especially right now. So I think the plans of her coming back to the Royal Rumble, or for WrestleMania, I don't think we're going to see her anytime soon, in my opinion, because of COVID, until it's kind of a thing of the past. That buys her more time to get ready, because maybe she doesn't even want to come back. So what do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, those are some very valid points. Nobody really knows except for her. She could try to rush coming
Maybe
back.
Seth.
I think physically she could probably be ready for WrestleMania, but will she want to come back during the pandemic? I think that she might opt to wait a little bit longer and wait until we have crowds again. That would be a big thing for when we have crowds, for her to make her big comeback, and that could help boost interest in WWE again and build up some hype for it. And plus, I want to see some other stars built up. If you're going to have Becky return, you got to have some new people for her to feud with. Is she really going to come back and face Asuka again? I'd like to see Alexa Bliss maybe feud with Asuka for a while and win the title and build up Alexa with her new character and then bring Becky Lynch back. And, you mentioned Ronda Rousey as well. I don't know if Ronda's going to come back again until we have crowds. Once Ronda comes back, I could see Becky coming back as well. What was that?
I hope she doesn't.
I'm willing to bet that we will see her again.
Well, if you want the women to main event WrestleMania again, Jerry, you better hope she does.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want that?
And like you said, Virtue, she might not come back for a very long time. I think she'll be back, but who knows when it'll be. It might not be as soon as people are hoping.
Now, the opinion that everybody wants here on this matter, Big G, because we all know he has had a falling out with Shayna Baszler, not because of her, but because of the way that Vince McMahon books her. And so we're just trying to see if he clings on to any other female wrestling superstar, getting that excitement that he once had with Shayna Baszler. So what do you think here with Becky being a mom now, coming back at some point, and might as well talk about Rousey.
Well, she just had the child. She's
She did?
yeah, she did. Isn't that something?
She's got a baby.
She had a second baby just not too long ago. No. Now she's gonna want to spend time with her and the baby and Seth. Have their time. A couple months. I don't think Royal Rumble or WrestleMania. If anything, I could see SummerSlam time, summertime. The baby will be at least 6 months old by then.
No way.
No?
Yes, it will be 6 months old by then.
Okay.
Come on.
So, but that's if she wants to come back. She's done pretty much everything she has done in WWE. I mean, yeah, she can come back and face off against Alexa Bliss with her new character. Jerry mentioned it earlier. They could have a storyline with her and Rousey if Rousey decides to come back. Becky said, "Ha ha, look at you, or look at me. I had a baby before you did. You tried longer before me."
Ooh.
So
There you go.
So they could do something along that line. Nowadays they like to bring in real life situations in the wrestling business, and that is a real life situation. But it all falls back on just Becky want to come back. I'm sure they're gonna plan on getting married here maybe within the next year or so.
Well, you can't get divorced unless you get married. So
yeah, true. So it's all on Becky and Seth. It's all. We have nothing to do with it. We can hope for it. We can hope for it and pray for it. The fans want Becky back. And please, Vince McMahon, get your head out of your ass and do something with Shayna Baszler.
Yeah,
Thank
we knew
you
that
very
was
much.
coming. We knew you were going to mention that. Now, how about this? Maybe at WrestleMania 60, we get Rue versus Birdie for the Women's Championship. Am I predicting
listen to these
something?
names: Peach Blossom, Cumulus, Teardrop. that's the names.
I'll be like 85 years old by then, but okay.
For it.
Okay, we had to get a little bit of WWE female division in there talk, but let's move on.
Real
here.
quick.
Yes.
Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, Rue Lynch is more interesting than Retribution. Well, Yeah, the name alone is more interesting than Retribution, Ricochet, and EC3 all put together.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
No,
Right.
I'm not. Maybe not EC3. Maybe not Ricochet, but Retribution
I'm
at
about
least.
to say EC3's improved a little bit since he got they loosened the reins on him a bit. So
No, yeah. I'll give him credit.
Okay, moving on. Thoughts on, we have to, yeah, I'm sure we've all seen the clips of the Impact segments here with AEW. So, first of all, I saw AEW did not quite a million, a little under 1 million viewers. Sting, that's all Sting, right? Still not doing 1 million, but Sting's getting them closer. Impact's up, right? They were up about 70,000 thanks to the buzz of AEW. So I didn't mind the whole Kenny Omega, Don Callis thing in the bus. Classic Don Callis sitting front and center, making the champion sit off to the left. Don Callis is classic, but he was the voice for Kenny. Kenny needs a voice because he's not great at it. So I did enjoy that, right? Even though they're hyping it, and it's not like Kenny Omega and Don Callis hit the ring during Impact. It was just a bus pre-recorded. Didn't feel too much of an invasion. And they kind of did the same thing on Dynamite.
Yeah.
But what was absolutely cringe is Tony Khan has made his way to television with arms as skinny as mine.
oh my
And he's
God.
taller than me. And of course, you know, he doesn't dress like a billionaire. I mean, God, come on. Look, Vince McMahon at 75 years old still comes out in suits.
Why are you so
And if-
triggered by how a man dresses?
He's a effing mark. He is a money mark that wants to play wrestling promoter just because daddy who made all of their money said, here's $100 million. Do something with it. Dude, if he is a huge mark. He just wants to be in the business and he's bought his way into it. Okay?
Or maybe he just wants to be able
the
to
first 3 months
relate
of
to
AEW
everybody
was
else.
fun because he wasn't really too involved. He was letting the executive vice presidents because he didn't know what he was doing. But as soon as January hit, 2020 hit, this awesome year, everybody knew Tony Khan was now creative. And I'm telling you what, I've bashed AEW all year long because Tony Khan's creative deserves to be bashed. There are some good that come out of this. I am intrigued with Impact and see what this does for AEW. But Tony Khan, I told you, Aaron, this is not WCW 2000 anymore when you want to criticize a bad year or a bad company. It's AEW 2020 because Tony Khan probably will find a way to put the belt on him. Now's a good time to bring David Arquette in, a trained wrestler and can actually work. So maybe you can bring him in and put the title on him just to fulfill your destiny of AEW 2020.
Yeah, but maybe Tony Khan, by the way.
Poor Tony Schiavone, though, just looking like, oh, man, like he loves collecting. Him and JR just love collecting their check. And I don't blame them. Two legends, right? Fans are always going to respect them, but cringe. Tony Cringe Khan. I just wish he would stay off of TV like some football owners, but he has to be the Jerry Jones, like the Dallas Cowboys, and put himself out there. And it just makes it so to me. So what's everybody's thoughts
I
here?
think that maybe you're a little jealous of his success.
Why?
Yeah, you tell me why.
Success. What successes he had? His daddy made all their money. He is a kid that inherited daddy's wealth. Daddy.
Jaguars aren't doing anything.
But they make money, though. But then they got soccer teams and stuff like that in London. So Dad, Shad Khan, is the genius, and Tony Khan's just the little guy, like spending money, having fun. So why would I be jealous? First of all, I mean,
you wish you could go to work in shorts and a t-shirt.
Like, look, if Tony Khan wants to be on TV and he dressed in a suit and made himself look like an executive, I probably really wouldn't say anything. If he just kept himself off TV and let the wrestlers do it and not try to do what some people criticize in the past, like when the Vince Russos got on TV, etc., it probably would be a whole different ballgame.
Well, now I want Tony Khan to be on TV every week just to annoy you.
Well, just to annoy me.
Yeah.
That's gimmick infringement. That's I do. So, Aaron, you're not being creative there. You're just doing something I would do. But let's face it. You look at Tony Khan, and you only enjoy him. You're defending him because it's another wrestling company, another wrestling night, so you can talk more wrestling on your channel. So I get it from your standpoint. Big G, I'm going to go to you. So Don Callis, Kenny Omega stuff, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
God, Tony Khan's just something else.
So I did watch the Impact segment, and then I was like, okay, this is cool. Callis and Omega, doing their spiel. Omega kind of brought up, Moxley's WWE name, Ambrose, and the whole Tough Enough season 1, which was like, okay, they're throwing shots. Then I go watch AEW, and I'm like, did I just watch this last night? Now, instead of on a bus, they're in the ring, and, there was this big announcement, but, Kenny being the heel, it was like, well, actually, no, it was Callis who said, I don't think the people are up for this big announcement, so they didn't do anything. So I thought it was okay. I don't have access to Impact TV. I mean, I could if I wanted to. I could watch it on YouTube if I wanted to, but
you don't have access to Impact TV. You mean Access TV?
Yes.
Access.
Which
Yeah.
Impact is on. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
I mean-
I didn't want to be confused.
No, you're right. And
I do
so
have access.
I'll probably be watching the clips on YouTube to see how this continues on, because I'm sure they'll be doing something next week on Impact again, or if not, Dynamite. I like how Kenny's, I guess, officially a heel. He's kind of the cleaner again. He's got the girls coming out with the broomsticks again and all that stuff. So it's interesting. He's using his old catchphrase, which is cool. The whole Tony Schiavone thing, the paid ad. What a loser. I'm sorry. What a loser.
Not Shivani, or you mean Khan?
Khan.
Yeah.
I like
Shivani is just
Shivani.
an innocent
I
bystander.
I like Schiavone, but
Yeah.
Khan is just a loser. I mean, I don't know.
I think Big G's being paid under the table by Virtue, which is interesting because Big Baller G should not need the money.
No, I don't. You're a billionaire, or you get money from your daddy, whatever. Why do you have to be on TV?
Because
Why?
he's catering to the marks.
Okay.
The diehard. He's portraying himself as one of them, so they'll like him. That's why I hate him.
I don't know.
Those diehard wrestling fans and I, going back to Chicago Money in the Bank, we just don't get along. Roman and Jinder, NXT, AEW. It's just different styles of what I like, what they like. So.
Yeah.
Anything else though? Well said.
I said my piece.
I agree with you.
Power Packers 90 sent in a $5 super chat. And by the way, Virtue, Ace and his familiar vlogs does agree with you 100%. So not everybody is thinking you're absolutely batshit crazy. A few people do think you
the
make
only
some good
people
points.
that would are the diehard AEW fans. I mean, heck, there's a whole train of people that were in the business like Russo's and Cornettes that look at Tony Khan like, what are you doing? So, I mean, come on.
Yeah, and that's pretty rare when Vince Russo and Jim Cornette agree on something.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, you got any other questions, or should I move on?
Yeah. Well, anyways, Power Packer.
Well, how about this? It's your turn. That way you can do the chats and then your piece on this.
All right. So Power Packers 90 with a $5 super chat says he was wearing the shirt of the NFL team, not XFL they own. It ties to him threatening to buy Impact. Also, Vince was given his daddy's company too. Any response to that, Virtue?
Let's see. Vince's dad. First of all, it was a wrestling company. Vince McMahon paid for that. Vince McMahon paid. Go back and look. Dave Meltzer probably knows this. Vince McMahon paid for that. He wasn't just given it. And then he turned it into $1 billion corporation because he didn't come out and look like Tony Khan and act like Tony Khan. But anyways, I hope that answers your question.
All right, fair enough. And we do have a $5 super chat from the Game Is On 100. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for your super chats. He says, wow, 70,000 more viewers for Impact, almost 1 million for AEW, not 1 million. As long as WWE is on Wednesday, AEW cannot grow on a better audience to cater marks. Well, I will say this. I enjoy AEW, but it's a problem with both companies, WWE and AEW. They pretty much needed Sting to get these kind of numbers, and I'm sure the Kenny Omega fallout got people intrigued. And I don't know if it's gonna last. I sense Impact will go back to its normal number, maybe a little bit higher than usual next week. But I can't imagine too many people tuning into Impact and be like, man, I got to keep watching this. Like, it's good wrestling, but you got no people there whatsoever. You got Josh Matthews on commentary, who is the dirt worst in my opinion. Like, just terrible. I can't stand him. And it still feels like a show with no stars on it. You know, they got a few people that were from WWE, Anderson and Gallows, Heath Slater. You got a couple people, but it's like an indie promotion with a TV deal. That's how I see Impact. And, you know, we talked about how NXT is like number 4. Impact's like number 6. I would think NXT UK is probably above Impact as far as viewership goes.
I'm sure.
So AEW is putting out a good product, but the key is for both companies is we need some new mainstream stars. There's no mainstream stars. They have to bring in Goldberg. They have to bring in Sting. We're going to talk about Goldberg later, but both companies are still relying on stars from the past to bring in the numbers. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, real loser is Rich Swann because he looks like a scrub. Ooh.
That the cruiserweight is the world champion. That's what's going on right there.
That's an issue too. And then, you know, like how he's not even allowed to go outside because Kenny Omega's there. So you kind of just made the Impact World Champion look like a scrub. You know, when Kenny Omega, the real champion, shows up, you know, it made Impact look pretty second rate. And the fact that AEW just did this promo basically all over again, the same promo from Kenny Omega and Don Callis as what they did on Impact, it pretty much rendered the whole Impact promo a waste of time. Like, we could have just tuned into Dynamite and got the same information. But yeah, I'm looking forward to what AEW does next, although I think people that are expecting some sort of great interpromotional feud, yeah, I don't know about that one. You know, I think they got some people intrigued. You know, somebody made this graphic of AEW versus Impact, just like WCW versus NWO World Tour. You know, people are fantasy booking and whatnot, but
But let's bring in CM Punk now.
Yeah, Impact Wrestling doesn't have any real stars, and I would have liked to have seen Kenny Omega maybe resign as the EVP in storyline and join Impact for a while, like kayfabe, join Impact Wrestling. That's how you would do an Invasion storyline. Actually have AEW guys jump ship to Impact Wrestling and start a war.
Then wrestle Rich Swann and win that title and have both of them? Absolutely, Aaron.
And what people need to realize is that Impact Wrestling, they've taped everything for the rest of the year. It's all in the can, so you can't even really keep the momentum going with this. So yeah, I think this interpromotional thing is going to fizzle out. I think it was just a way for Kenny Omega to help out Don Callis, but Don Callis will probably end up managing Omega and AEW. So yeah, Impact got a short-term boost from it, but I think that's all we're going to get out of this whole storyline with Omega and Don Callis and going to Impact and whatnot. Maybe Good Brothers versus Young Bucks, as C.L. Spencer points out.
There you go. And we'll see. But again, after the first of the year, right? Jerry, thoughts here?
I'm thinking this whole AEW and Impact Wrestling, we're going to say like temporary merger, is really cool because like you have that talent exchange going back and forth. But I'm excited to see what's going to be happening, especially with Kenny Omega and Don Callis. And basically, I want to see like Tony Khan somewhere down the line actually screw Kenny Omega out of the belt, just so either Don Callis or Omega can yell Khan. I think that'd be just like suit both their pop culture needs. But I'm thinking Kenny Omega's like major announcement he's going to make is chances are he's going to be defending that belt at some show in New Japan. That's the only thing I can actually think of, since Don Callis is still working through them as well, which will extend the olive branch even further from New Japan to AEW and Impact as well. So I'm all for to see what's going on, because this isn't really an invasion storyline, because nobody's invading anywhere. Like, it's basically just guys going in and out of the company. Nobody's trying to take anything over. So if it does get down to that, I hope they handle it better than the whole alliance and whatnot, but I could actually see this being somewhat promising.
We need one guy. We talked about this over and over again to make this interesting, and that's CM Punk.
Yeah, and
And
Virtue, they got
Yeah.
so many people in AEW right now. You know, they're struggling to get everybody on TV. Like, do a worked storyline where some of these AEW guys jump ship to Impact. You know, you could throw Miro on there and make Miro the face of Impact Wrestling, or do something. You know, in kayfabe, of course, he's really working for AEW, but you know, they could make this work if they put the resources and effort into it. But I don't know if they're going to do that, and I sense that this is probably going to be close to the end of it. Maybe we get the Bucks versus Anderson and Gallows.
Both their tag divisions are incredible compared to what the WWE has to offer. So the tag divisions on both those companies are just totally impressive. Even the guys on Dark at this point are actually great tag teams. Like, you have like maybe 5 or 6 tag teams. Hell, you have 3 tag teams in the Dark Order itself.
Yeah, as Jose Garza points out in the chat room, we have 5-hour AEW Darks on YouTube because their roster is so backed up. Like, what do they do? Like 14 matches on Dark or something like that?
Like two and a half hours. They have like at most. I think one night I saw about 10 matches.
Yeah, that's a little excessive.
Yeah. It is.
Oh, and Tony Khan in that promo or that ad, he had to get that shot in there. Maybe I'll buy Impact Wrestling.
Okay.
God, I can't believe he said. Wait, yes, I can believe he said that.
That's something else I want to touch on. He looked like one of those SNL performers that has to like be staring right at the teleprompter and reading their lines as they go along.
What I noticed, the first thing, you know, he tried to look sporty or whatever in the polo or whatever he had, but he was doing this so he could push his biceps to make them look bigger than the string beans that they are. Trust me, I know how you do that, but you don't do it when you're on TV. We're gonna move on. Still talk about AEW before we get to the real main event that carries this show and the headlines on YouTube. But first, did we talk about when we talked about Sting last week, Aaron? Did we say who we would think he might face first if he does wrestle? We know he had the neck issue. He might not wrestle. There's rumors that he could. Maybe they could do it safely. I'm sure he could do a hell of a lot more than Bret Hart did against Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. But Aaron, I'll start with you. Did we talk about who Sting could face if he does wrestle, and who do you think it would be?
I think we did touch upon it a little bit, or at least I did on one of my live streams. You know, I think the obvious match is against Cody Rhodes and then maybe Darby Allin. But I could see Sting doing some tag matches where he's protected. He doesn't have to take any bumps. You know, people are talking about maybe Jericho as an opponent, Sting versus Jericho, but they would really have to use smoke and mirrors for that one. I think we're going to see Sting do matches, but I don't know if they're going to be any good or not.
Anybody you would like to see him, since he is there and it's a possibility to elevate someone that's not just, got to put him against Cody because it's Dusty's son.
I think he probably shouldn't be in the ring if he can't take any bumps, but if you're going to do something, maybe do a tag match with Darby where Sting can get the hot tag, do a Stinger splash, put on the Scorpion Deathlock, and picks up the win.
Any thoughts, Big G? Who would you like to see Sting face safely if he can work a match or a tag match like Aaron suggested?
Cody, like Aaron said, is the obvious answer. Eventually, Darby Allin down the road. You know, he could even possibly manage Darby Allin later down the road. Tag team matches. I guess tag team matches would be the safest bet. You know, it's been 5 years since the match with Rollins, 2015 Night of Champions.
Yeah, long.
Yeah, so I mean, depending on what doctors cleared him, I mean, it looks like he has like a profile on AEW with the record. So Tony
Khan will have one like that soon.
Oh, too. I'm sure he will.
There you go. There's the match. And he can just squash Tony Khan with a Scorpion Death Drop. Well,
I mean, it looks like he's going to be back next week. It looks like. So we'll see.
Well, he should be there every week if they're getting close to 1 million since he's been there.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see who he faces first. I don't think it's going to be Cody because it made it seem like
Right.
It wasn't going to be Cody. It could be somebody from the Dark Order. You know, it could be some lame talent just to get Sting over or whatever and say, here you go, Sting. Here's your match. Get us 1 million viewers. So, I mean, whoever he faces, I'll be fine with, so.
All right, Jerry.
Ooh, Moxley.
I want you people to write this down right now. Because, all right, any match that Sting puts on anytime soon is going to suck. It's going to be a horrible match. He's going to be protecting himself the entire time. And the wrestlers are going to be protecting him too because they don't want to see Sting get hurt. He's going to be an awesome mentor to Darby Allin. I see him maybe doing some run-ins, possibly swinging a baseball bat, maybe a Scorpion Death Drop or a Scorpion Deathlock here and there. But I don't want to see him actually in the ring because all it's going to be is a bunch of clunky maneuvers, him playing it safe, and like he's just better as a presence and a promo than anything else. You don't want to see him go the same way as The Undertaker. You don't want to see him degenerate little by little on television versus like just staying retired. Like, I love the idea of Sting being in the company. I love the idea of him being able to pass his wisdom on to these newer guys, possibly elevating them. That's great. But him in the ring, I do not want to see. If anything, he'll probably do some sort of like quick thing with Taz, if anything, since they're both more or less retired. But otherwise, I wouldn't want to see him in a ring with anybody after a whole Seth Rollins instead. So
there you go. And then I'll play it safe. Tag him. Put him with Darby Allin versus somebody or however you want to do that. Keep him safe. Let him do the hot tag at the end.
As long as he can run into a hot spot where he doesn't really have to take really any bumps or anything, it's great. But it's going to feel forced, and it's going to look horrible, and it's just not going to be good.
All right. TJS sent in a $3 super chat. Says, what value does a 61-year-old Sting bring to the table? His star power.
150 to 200,000 people for 2 weeks in a row, more than they were getting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but for them it is.
Nostalgia, and again, nostalgia has a short shelf life, so it's not going to last unless they use him every once in a while. If he's on TV every week, it's going to play itself out after a while unless...
Buy your Sting t-shirts now.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. I'm waiting for Tony Khan to come out with Sting face paint on. Anyways, I asked if somebody could Photoshop. Hey, NoDQ Galaxy, if you're good with Photoshop and you can take one of Tony Khan's pictures, maybe one without his glasses on, and put the Sting crow paint on him, I would pop for that on the internet. Let's move to the main event, the WWE main event scene, where it draws numbers for our review that doesn't crash and burn like when we make AEW and NXT the main events. Roman Reigns, we're going to talk about him again because every time we do, he bumps the numbers. But I do not want to see Roman Reigns face Goldberg. Stay the fuck away from WWE. You got squashed by Braun Strowman. What makes any of us want to see you come back to get the match in against Roman? The Fiend was ruined by WWE management to get to that match, and it never happened because of the pandemic. Like, Roman versus Rock is plan A for down the road for the end of this head of the table tribal chief thing. Because Hollywood, the Rock schedule, the money, whatever, cannot make that happen, you got Daniel Bryan, you got John Cena as an outlier. What are the other possibilities that I've seen out there? Push Big E, like create a new star. Do not make it Bill Goldberg. Don't ruin this great Roman Reigns run with damn Bill Goldberg. And Aaron, you weren't going to make more than $1.50 off this video anyway, so that's why I decided to say the F-bomb there. What's everyone's thoughts? I want The Rock and Roman so bad if the pandemic was over and the schedule and Rock's insurance company allowed it, because that would be just like huge.
Virtue. So first of all, you're probably right with the F-bomb. If YouTube flags the video, I definitely won't be making more than that. But hopefully it doesn't get flagged. It doesn't always get flagged. Maybe if you drop one, it's okay.
Too bad you can't edit after it's live. Leave it up.
PG-13, you're okay.
I almost didn't say it, but I just couldn't. When I saw Goldberg,
And you should put TVMA on there just to like a little.
I don't know
Like
if
a little
YouTube
thing.
cares about that. But anyways, TJS sent in a $3 super chat. Thank you, TJS. Glad you could tune in. And he says, heel Reigns versus Goldberg, not at WrestleMania, sounds fine. Yeah, I mean, I would not have a problem with it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give my take on it. I do not have a problem with Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. I'm fine with it as long as Roman Reigns beats him. You know, Goldberg comes in, Roman Reigns wins. Roman Reigns gets elevated from it. I'm fine with that because Vince, they hyped up that match, they teased it, and Vince's philosophy is always to deliver on a match that you tease. You don't tease something and then not deliver. I think we will see it. WrestleMania is not ideal, but they might not have any other choices as far as top stars go. The Rock doesn't look like that's going to happen. John Cena probably not going to happen without a crowd. So if you're going to have WrestleMania with a very limited crowd or just the virtual crowd, then whatever, Goldberg's your best bet right now. You could try to elevate somebody like Big E, but they really need to get going with that. You know, what are they waiting for?
Like, what's this whole Daniel Bryan thing? Do it already. I mean, remember when Meltzer dropped the news a year ago and then it never happened with that whole storyline? Like, there you go. I mean, come on. Daniel Bryan, ever since he lost the title to Kofi and decided not to go to Saudi Arabia, they've really done nothing with him. I mean, that's sad.
I mean, I'd love to see Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, or maybe a babyface Seth Rollins coming back, you know, after this break and winning the Royal Rumble and challenging Reigns at WrestleMania. I think would be a more interesting match than Goldberg. I would like to see Goldberg just show up at the Rumble and lose to Roman Reigns. I think that would make everybody happy. Just get it over with if you're going to do it. Mike D sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mike D. He says, Vince wants Roman and The Rock, but has to be full crowd. Yeah, that's the thing, too. I don't see The Rock coming back unless we have 80,000 people in the stadium. And I feel like that's not going to happen for WrestleMania. I think best case scenario, we get a 25% capacity, maybe a 50%, depending on how far along we are with having regular access to the vaccine where everybody can get it. And that might not happen until well into the second quarter, which of course would be after WrestleMania. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat, says, how about Goldberg versus Big Show, with Big Show knocking the F out of him as revenge for Bret Hart, shocking the world by becoming the ultimate babyface. Goldberg versus the Big Show. Even as entertaining as that would be, nah, I don't want to see that. You know what I would like to see? I want to see Goldberg versus Matt Riddle. I want to see if Riddle.
Thank you, Aaron.
I want to see if Riddle can put his money where his mouth is and get a great match out of Goldberg. I would be very intrigued by that.
Yep. And I know people don't like the Matt Riddle stuff. Like, he's literally, I don't know, somebody said on Russo's channel, McMahon must have recently just watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High and the Spicoli character, because that is exactly how Matt Riddle acts. And like, doesn't bother me. I think it's, when it makes people mad and upset, I love it. So,
yeah, well, by the way, Virtue, Mo Camera says Roman is not a draw. The Fiend gets millions of views on YouTube. So does Randy. So do many other superstars. Roman is not special.
Every video that they get millions, that Roman's in that video. Go back and look at their standalones and go look at Roman standalones. That was completely, you didn't even do your homework. You just speculated. I guarantee you 80%, 90% of their videos that are high have Roman in them. I look at them all every week. Roman crushes everybody else on YouTube. But who cares, right? Yeah. YouTube, it's YouTube. Who cares?
Right. Mike D sent in.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mike D sent in a $2 super chat, says The Rock versus Roman Reigns could be at SummerSlam next year. I suppose The Rock could come back, maybe at a non-WrestleMania pay-per-view, but I think it's unlikely. If The Rock wrestles again, I'm pretty certain that it's going to be at WrestleMania. I would be surprised if he does anything other than WrestleMania.
All right, well, Aaron, I'm going to pass. We got the other two guys' opinions on this, so let's go to Big G.
People listening in the NoDQ galaxy, The Rock is not coming back. He is the highest paid actor in Hollywood right now. He's got Black Adam coming out. He's got another Disney movie coming. You know, he is not worried about wrestling anymore. Vince
He
McMahon.
wrestled Cena twice in a row when he was already an established top star in Hollywood.
True.
But granted, it was John Cena.
It was
Okay.
John Cena. I mean, I'm just sick and tired of people. Oh, I want The Rock to come back to face Roman Reigns. He's not coming
But
back,
Big G, I got to counter you here. The difference is Roman is his blood. And he knows, and I know he knows this is the most interesting Roman has been to the fans his whole career.
I know.
That's why I'm holding that possibility. No pandemic. If his schedule and insurance company clear it, blood, the Samoan blood.
Okay.
But I get it. You don't think he's coming back. That's your opinion.
Right.
That's fine.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like to see The Rock come back to a wrestling ring, but I don't think he's going to do it. He doesn't. There's no. I mean, okay, yeah, Roman Reigns is blood, but I just don't think he has it in him anymore. He wants to give the younger talent, the new generation, the spot. I don't think he wants that spot. So give it Big E, give it Daniel Bryan. You know, I would rather see Goldberg and Matt Riddle at WrestleMania, to be honest, than Goldberg.
According to Robbie Weiss, that'll never happen. Dude, and I would be fine if it was a SummerSlam even.
If it was a SummerSlam, okay, but WrestleMania, you have so much great talent there. Give it to Big E. The man is talented as hell. He won the NXT title. He won the IC. He had a singles IC title. You put him with the New Day for 6.5 years. He finally got some new music last week. He's back with the baby powder, you know. So give Big E that spot. He deserves it, in my opinion. Daniel Bryan, I'm assuming he's gonna finish up his feud with Sami Zayn here in the next couple weeks, and then have a feud with Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. And then I'm sure we're probably gonna see. We all don't want to see it, but I'm sure we're going to see Goldberg versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. But in my opinion, I want to see Big E versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. The two big guys from the two biggest factions in the past 10 years, the New Day and the Shield. What more do you want, people?
I'd rather see at WrestleMania than Goldberg. I'd rather see Roman Reigns versus Bart Gunn, Ricochet,
C3.
Well, who else? I mean,
Retribution.
Then Goldberg.
T-Bar.
Retribution. Jinder Mahal. Of course. But thank you, Big G. You know, it's good to disagree sometimes. Jerry, main event. Your first main event here on the review.
I'm kind of saddened by the fact that this whole Roman Reigns and Goldberg talk actually didn't start a little bit sooner, because Jimmy Uso is due to come back in January. And that would be an interesting way to bring him back. Say it's like, okay, Roman versus Goldberg at Royal Rumble, but Jey Uso is banned from Jey Uso and Paul Heyman are banned from ringside. So then, like, all of a sudden, Jimmy Uso comes back and helps Roman retain, and he becomes a member of the family right then and there, without any like arm pulling, without any stipulations or anything. He just joins because he just knows better. So, but we don't have that kind of time, and that's going to be probably just forced in there. That we're going to get Jimmy versus Jay, which is just standard WWE garbage. They might as well just have Jimmy just go ahead and just join the group because it's inevitable. But with Goldberg versus Roman Reigns, I wasn't excited about it for WrestleMania, and I'm not excited about it now. I'm just not. Goldberg is done. He's bloated and he's just horrible. And yes, my eyes actually twitching at the idea of this match actually still happening.
Because think about it, Jerry. Okay, Reigns is going to have to squash him. Because if you don't squash him, Strowman beat him pretty quickly. Why couldn't you, Roman? The only way out of this, in my opinion, is like you said, set it up for a Jimmy Uso or something like that. Or just have Roman annihilate him for 10 minutes, but do that slow beatdown and talking to him and bloody Goldberg up and looking at him. You're done. Like he kind of did with Jay. just tell that type of story, because then Goldberg won't be as blown up if they do it really slow.
That'd be beautiful and masterful and awesome storytelling and completely against everything that WWE does right now.
Well, they did the Jey Uso and Roman match kind of like slow like that, but
that was a nice slow burn, and it was beautiful. It's one of the things that actually got me invested in this new Roman Reigns character. Is the fact that, granted, he was saddled with Paul Heyman, but Paul's just there almost like a title holder. He's not really doing much of anything in this except for establishing, he's with Paul Heyman. So he's a bad individual. So I'm okay with all of this that's going on with Roman Reigns. I just hate the idea if Goldberg gets brought back in, him beating Reigns for a belt and the momentum of it just being gone.
Oh, God, don't even say that.
I can't imagine that will happen. I think we're pretty safe in that regard. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Psycho. We appreciate it. He says, I would rather see Home Alone 3 than Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. Wow.
Home Alone 3 was not that bad.
I'd rather see, what was that movie? What was that movie with Batista and RVD? Does anybody remember the name of that movie? Wrong Side of Town. I'd rather see Wrong Side of Town than Roman Reigns versus Goldberg.
I thought you were going to say the Rob Zombie Halloween movies.
Well, that too. I'd rather see 3 from Hell than Roman Reigns versus Goldberg.
That whole scene in Mexico, it's classic.
Okay.
It's daylight, blood and guts and gore, just like 70s Grindhouse was supposed to be. But anyway. All right, so anything else?
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, Aaron, go ahead.
Mike D with the $5 super chat says, I want to see Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns with the roles reversed now with Heyman. That would be a very compelling storyline. I agree. I would be totally down with that for WrestleMania. Like, I would be fine.
Heyman on a pole match.
Well, let's not get carried away here.
All right.
Virtue, any thought? Would you like to see that? Lesnar and Reigns?
Lesnar, Roman, of course. Absolutely. It doesn't matter who's heel, who's face. Definitely. Every time. 3 months, three pay-per-views in a row, I'd be fine with that.
Just for Lesnar's music to hit during Paul Heyman's like Roman Reigns spiels in the middle of the ring would just be beautiful.
Paul Heyman's reaction.
Yes.
Ultimately, what would be the best?
Just a little bit. He's just sitting out in the ring.
What would be the best to me, Jerry, is when we have crowds again and Roman's dominating Universal Champion. He's out there with Heyman and everything's happened. He's done everything. It's like, where could they ever go next with him? And then the deal with the devil was made. They bring CM Punk back. They come to an agreement. Punk comes out there to confront Roman Reigns.
That'd be super.
It takes two to tango, though. Like, so both sides, WWE or any wrestling company, and CM Punk, and we're probably still so far away from that ever happening. But just imagine the fans still would eat it up, even the ones that have grown tired of him, thinking he's never coming back because he abandoned them. They would still all pop and go to Aaron's site and crash it.
And that would be the reason why he would come back, is the fact that he doesn't feel like he's relevant anymore, or that people have forgotten about him is the reason he would return.
They've blown through their money quite a bit. But yeah, anyway, that's it. Let's do our rounds of our plugs and our farewells for this week, because when we get back to Aaron, I'm sure we'll drag on till 8:15. So Jerry, how was it? How was your first experience here on the review?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to.
So, with that, what kind of plugs and stuff you got?
It's actually been a while since I've actually been on like a panel that wasn't a prediction video. So this has been a real treat, and I thank you gentlemen, for actually having me on.
Cool. So, any plugs?
Right now, I'm not really doing much of anything. I've been doing a couple of like food videos on YouTube under Jerry's General Videos. But after Christmas, I should have a tablet and a microphone, and I'll probably be starting up my own little podcast for pretty much anything wrestling also at that point. But right now, I have my Facebook group Armbar, all capital ARMBAR ! I also have a shirt available on the NoDQ site. But otherwise, nothing just yet, but it's coming together.
Well, thank you for being on. Now over to you, Big G. What Christmas movie are you watching after we get off the air?
I don't know yet. That's a good question. You can follow me at nodq.com/BigBiology.
I don't know. That's a good question. Is that on Netflix?
What's that?
That Christmas movie. I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh yeah, it's on Netflix.
So
anyway,
carry on.
I
Yeah,
thought
I'm
Hulu.
lingering this now. Aaron's rubbing off on me.
So yeah, nodq.com/BigBiology takes you to my Twitter page. NoDQ_BigBiology1988 on Instagram. Jeff Hiltz on Facebook. That's it for me.
Thank you.
We'll take it away to Aaron.
All right. Psycho Jet Black came through with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Psycho Jet Black. He says, what if Vince Russo came back as Goldberg's manager?
He's not coming back to wrestling. So I'm not playing a what if there. And I hate Goldberg that much. I would still be pissed.
I think that would not be the proper way to utilize Vince Russo if he came back. Just saying. But thank you for the super chat. We do appreciate it. And anyways, guys, make sure you follow NoDQ.com for the very latest. It's been a pretty busy news week. Some interesting stories. And we do have the TLC pay-per-view coming up next week. We'll be doing predictions for that Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Not sure who's going to be on it, but we'll be doing predictions then. Stay tuned for all that. And that's all I got. Virtue, let's wrap it up.
All right. Follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_Virtue, Facebook, NoDQ.com/Virtue. You'll see everything there. Everything I like, everything I dislike. So that is it for Big G, for Aaron Rift, and for the General Jerry. I am Virtue, NoDQ Galaxy. We will see you next time. Bye.